Hello everybody, welcome back to a beginner's guide to It has been a minute, but we are back for the Twilight Masquerade format, and I will try and get these updated every time I can if they need updating, because the last ones I did are well out of date at this stage. Anyway, we're looking at my current favourite deck of the Twilight Masquerade format, and that is Xatu PAR with Radzard. That's right, it's a change that came in very recently. It's a very weird list because I saw this list early in the Japanese City Leagues and was like, this is cool, this is great, I like Radiant Charizard. Then people started playing Radiant Alakazam and I went into Radiant Alakazam and went, yeah, that seems smart, we'll go Radiant Alakazam. Ultimately, it's come back to Radiant Charizard thanks to OmniJoe's list and a few other people. So this is OmniJoe's list with a very minor tweak, which I am going to make a couple more tweaks on, but I'll explain about that in a minute. So where are we with this current deck list? Right now we are looking at a 4-of for Dreepy, a 4-of for Drakloak with the ability Recon Directive. Once during your turn you may look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put one of them into your hand, put the other at the bottom of your deck. Very nice, very handy. It's like a better flower selecting because you get to keep both the cards in the deck, which is quite handy in a lot of situations. And then, of course, that evolves into Dragapult EX, our 320 Dragon Terra type Pokemon with the brilliant attack, Jet Headbutt for 70, 1 colourless energy. But the main thing we have it for is Phantom Dive, 1 Fire Energy, 1 Psychic Energy, 200 damage, put 6 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon in any way you like. It's a fantastic attack, and realistically, until the format changes a little bit more, people aren't really playing the cards to avoid those 6 damage counters, so it's a really good attack, and I think it's going to be one of the most important attacks in our current meta for a while. On top of that, we have the support of a 2-of Natu and a 2-of Xatu with the ability Clairvoyant Sense. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic Psychic Energy from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. If you attach energy to a Pokemon in this way, draw 2 cards. So we have 1 Xatu and 2 Drakloak on the bench. You're seeing at least an extra 4 cards each turn, which is nice. It's kind of got its own built-in draw engine, which I think is really fun. A lot of people would argue the Pidgeot build is better because of the quick search ability. I don't like 2 stage 2s, especially ones that rely on rare candy. Kinda scary. As for support Pokemon, we have a 1-of Tatsugiri with the ability Attract Customers. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may look at the top 6 cards of your deck, reveal a supporter card you find there and put it into your hand, shuffle the other cards back into your deck. Very important when Arven is probably a key card in almost every early turn. Arven is huge for the setup. Speaking of supporters, we have the Luminous Sign ability on the Lumineon V. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. Very handy, very fun. Rotom V, if you go in first, even if you go in second and have got no other way to like end out the turn. Ability Instant Charge. Once during your turn, you may draw 3 cards. If you use this ability, your turn ends. So use that at the end of your turn, don't use it at the start, that would be silly. The other 2 cards in this are 1 support Pokemon in Manaphy, ability Wave Veil, prevent all damage done to your bench Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. While the Dragapult is a Terra type, so it is immune to bench damage, the Drakloak and the Dreepy and the Xatu are not, so it is important to keep them alive via Manaphy in the early turns. And finally, our Coup de Grace Radiant Charizard with the Combustion Blast attack for 250 damage. Of course, Excited Heart ability. This Pokemon's attacks cost 1 colourless less for each prize card your opponent has taken. So you are generally not using this until the end of the game, but you can get in some early hits with a attachment plus Xatu attachment as well. So it is a very powerful card in this deck. On to the items now. We have a 4-of Buddy Puffin. Search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less, put them onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. We have a 3 Nest Balls. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon, put it onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. Noticing a theme here? Ultra Ball 2-of. You can use this card only if you discard 2 other cards from your hand. Search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. On top of that, we have a little bit of Energy Search too in Earthen Vessel. You can use this card only if you discard another card from your hand. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. It is important to have that manual attach and the Xatu attachment every turn, and you can find both of those energies very easily. As far as utility is concerned, we have Super Rod, shuffle up to 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. Great for reloading a Charizard. If you've used it and it's got knocked out, you can use it straight away again. Counter Catcher, that is a 2-of. You can use this card only if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent. Switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon into the active spot. Again, this deck is playing from behind quite often, especially with the fact that the deck runs quite a few single prizes, so you can put your opponent onto an odd prize map and have a counter catcher active on most of your turns. Rare Candy for those quick Dragapult evolutions. Choose one of your basic Pokemon in play. If you have a Stage 2 card in your hand that evolves from that Pokemon, put that card onto the basic Pokemon to evolve it, skipping the Stage 1. You can't use this card during your first turn or on a basic Pokemon that was put into play this turn. We only have one Stadium in the deck, Temple of Sinnoh. All special energy attached to Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's, provide colourless energy and have no other effect. Very important for turning off mist energy for that damage counter placement. As for our supporters, we have a 4 of Arven. Search your deck for an item card and a Pokemon tool card, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. 2 Boss's Orders, switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. It is very important that we have control over what's in the active. So we're doing the 200 damage and then smacking about those 6 damage counters as productively as possible. And finally, 3 of Iono. Each player shuffles their hand and puts it onto the bottom of their deck. Either player puts any cards on the bottom of their deck in this way. Each player draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards. It's still a fantastic card, and it's still a staple in virtually every deck. Iono is such a powerful card. As far as tools are concerned, we actually have a decent amount. We have 1 Defiance Band. If you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, the attacks of the Pokemon this card's attached to do 13 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon before applying weakness and resistance. Again, you're going to be on odd prize map a lot of the time, so using Counter Catcher and Defiance Band productively is actually quite easy with this deck. For a Seal Stone, with the ability to start Alchemy, during your turn you may search your deck for a card and put it into your hand and then shuffle your deck. You're running Lumineon V and Rotom V. It is just a no-brainer to run for a Seal Stone. Rescue Board, a 1 of. The original list runs 2. I've made the change to 1. The retreat cost of the Pokemon this card's attached to is 1 colourless less. If this Pokemon's remaining HP is 30 or less, it has no retreat cost. Again, that was a 2 of. I did make a change, and I will point that out earlier. I did intentionally skip it. Technical Machine Evolution, a great card if you go in second. For 1 colourless cost, Evolution, choose up to 2 of your bench Pokemon. It is important that you choose those 2 Pokemon as well. You announce it before you go searching. For each of those Pokemon, search your deck for a card that evolves from that Pokemon, put it onto that Pokemon to evolve it, then shuffle your deck. And finally, our energy counts are 4 Psychic and 3 Fire. I realised after the fact that I didn't mention the A-Spec in this deck, which was foolish. The A-Spec is Scoop Up Cyclone, put one of your Pokemon and all attached cards into your hand. It is a great card to just heal up a Dragapult EX and to stop the opponent from knocking out and taking 2 prize cards, because you're trying your best to protect your Dragapult as best you can. The amount of times in this game I've gone 2 prize cards down before I've taken any kind of knockout or made any kind of inroads with Dragapult is ridiculous. So I think it's probably one of the best A-Specs you can run. There's definitely other options, but Scoop Up Cyclone is the current one in this list, and I think it works incredibly well. Now, I mentioned we had 2 rescue boards in this deck, and I dropped 1 for another card. I actually include Hawlucha in this deck with the ability of Flying Entry. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may choose 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon and put 1 damage counter on each of them. Now, that might not sound like much, but one of our biggest ups right now with this deck is Raging Bolt Ogerpon. And before anything modifies any health, Ogerpon has 210 health. So you can throw down a Hawlucha, ding 2 of the Ogerpon, boss will counter catch them up, knock them out for a clean knockout, put 6 damage counters elsewhere. Maybe you already damaged something else that was in the active, such as a Raging Bolt. Put 4 damage counters there if there's been no modifications, 2 wherever you like, and you've taken 4 prizes incredibly easily in 1 turn. And after that, you've just got to find another 2 prizes, which isn't too difficult when you run Radiant Charizard. It's a good card. The only problem is, this getting into the part of the conversation where maybe you want to make some changes. Bravery Charm exists in that deck, and I think it really does mess with the numbers, so I think trying to find a way to get Lost Vacuum into this deck is going to be very important. It really depends on what meta you think you're going to be running into, because Temple of Sinnoh is incredibly important for Mist Energy, but if you're not seeing too many Lugia, maybe you're not seeing too many Mist Energy, so maybe that's where you can make a cut. Maybe you can make Iono a 2 of rather than a 3 of. I think that's a decent cut. Defiance Band is potentially cuttable, although I really like it in this list. I think it's fantastic. There's potentially an argument for dropping either Lumineon or Rotom. Maybe run one or the other. But yeah, there's a lot of choice here. I think with Tatsugiri, I think Lumineon maybe is potentially more of an option to drop. But yeah, there's definitely some options here. As far as matchups are concerned, I haven't run into any that are like an absolute nightmare for this deck. I think Blissey EX is probably the deck's biggest op at the moment, but the problem is Blissey EX only has 1 good matchup, it feels like, and it is Dragapult. So if you're expecting a full Dragapult meta, maybe going Blissey's the way, but other than that, I don't think there's anything too bad. I think the Raging Bolt Ogerpon list that I will be covering is also a bit of a nightmare for this deck, but I don't know if you can see behind me. I did a bit of a test earlier, the 2 decks that are on there. I managed to recover that matchup simply with a Radiant Charizard and Defiance Belt. I didn't feel the need for the vacuums to save me from Bravery Charms and stuff like that, so maybe that matchup is just not necessarily fixed, but more evened up by just including Radiant Charizard. I don't know, but it genuinely felt really good to play. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that has been XatuPult / Radzard. There's better names for it, I'm sure. If you have anything you want to know about this deck, do let me know in the comments, and I'll either reply or look at doing another video. I do want to keep these videos quite simple, as deck lists and explanations as to why certain cards are in there, but if there's anything I've missed, please let me know. And there will be plenty of gameplay on the channel before too much longer. I'm currently recovering from a major surgery on my ear. Maybe you've seen the carton there. I haven't got back to streaming yet, but I am working on it. Thank you for watching as always, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. All the social media links are in the description below. Again, any comments, more than welcome, and I'll try to reply to them ASAP. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.